the fact that we're sitting here in 2023 in the middle of what should be the best years of White Sox baseball, what was promised to fans, and talking about whether or not guys know how to hustle, know how to play hard, do very fundamental, rudimentary baseball things that, hell, you were probably told this when you were 10 years old. And there's still question marks at the major league level is very infuriating to watch. I know you're as tuned in as most other diehard White Sox fans are, but you speak the truth. I get the same messages from people, who tune in to White Sox games sort of casually, asking me throughout this 10-game losing streak, what the hell's going on. But I don't think that there is one baseball media company out there over the last week that hasn't taken a shot across the bow of the Chicago White Sox. That's a problem. That's a problem. I mean, you're getting it from everyone, from every direction. I believe it was either this morning or yesterday, Ken Rosenthal is writing about how and who the White Sox are going to trade at the deadline. I don't think any of us wanted to be in this seventh circle of baseball hell at this point, but you're definitely correct with this. It's embarrassing. And I thought what was even more embarrassing was what ensued in the postgame afterwards. You have Pedro Grifol come out there and talk about it was a miscommunication problem. Luis Robert didn't let anybody on the training staff, didn't let him know, didn't let any of the bench coaches know that he was dealing with a hamstring issue. I don't want to justify a guy that's on this team who doesn't even know his bench coach's name sitting there and talking about how hard he works. That it's backwards to me, Chuck. I don't understand how he could get into a press conference with the media following this game and sort of laugh. I'm talking about Luis Robert Jr. here, sort of laugh off questions about his effort. And then it be talked about today prior to the game after he's already been benched and not in the lineup. You see Adam Hazley's name in there. Everybody's sort of wondering why the fuck Adam Hazley's playing center field and leading off today. If it was a hamstring issue, I don't think you see Luis Robert pinch hit today, although he was taken out immediately for a pinch runner. But I'm just sort of mystified by this entire exchange that went down. It was the definition of a clown show, in my opinion. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on it.
I have two things. I think if Luis Robert was, a true man and somebody who really respects his coach in the clubhouse, he would have went to the media and said, "I didn't run that ball out. I screwed up." Even if his hamstrings were tight, I would have never had an excuse in that situation. Even if I tore my hamstring, I would be like, I should have ran that ball out. I messed up. And then, maybe you get the MRI after and it says your hamstring's messed up. But don't go the first thing to the media and say, my hamstrings were tight when everyone's calling you out. Just be accountable. Say you screwed up. Like, this is what we have. Now we have to deal with, little prima donnas on the team and putting them on the bench and benching them, which is good. I'm happy Pedro did it because this wasn't under the last regime. Stuff like this was not going down, and it has to go down with the young team because these guys want to be treated like veterans. Well, guess what? You need to act like veterans before you get treated like veterans. That's what I think. And, I think a lot of the issues with Tony La Russa leading this team was that he was a veteran clubhouse type of guy, a veteran-led clubhouse type of guy. Like, you look at the Astros. Do you think Dusty Baker's really putting in a ton of work in that clubhouse? I think that's a player-driven, veteran, smart ball player-driven clubhouse, and I think anybody could sit at the end of that dugout and lead that team to a championship last year, including Tony La Russa. And even if he made bad decisions. But I think this team needed a little bit of a babysitter and a little kick in the ass, and Pedro brought it yesterday. The other thing that he said was that he was hustling out plays the day before. I don't know from the top of my head. I think he went 0 for 4 the day before. I don't really remember anything where he was really hard sprinting down the line that would have really aggravated the hamstring. So that was my only other question looking back on this. But I just wish there would be more accountability and you get Lance Lynn right after talking about, how he gave up a no-hitter and doesn't give a fuck because he lost. Another day when he was on the radio, he goes, yeah, but I got lit up. Like, just being accountable. Just be like, you know what? I fucking lost today for the team. Even Graveman did it with the Paredes thing. You could tell those are the guys I want on the team going forward. I don't want to see the guys that are going to come up with excuses anymore. And hopefully this is just a learning lesson for Robert, because he is young, and nobody's ever held him in check. He's probably been told he's the best player on the ball field since he was, 10 years old. So you need somebody to keep you in check. And this is kind of a wake-up call for him. And hopefully it wakes up his bat and, he learns from this.
I was also a fan of Grifol pulling him. And I think, outside of Grifol getting ejected and actually showing some emotion, I believe that was on Friday night for his second ejection in a row. Another weird White Sox factoid. I think he might be the first manager ever to get ejected in back-to-back games before winning back-to-back games. That could be like a whole MLB thing, but I know it's probably the case for the Chicago White Sox. Somebody will have to fact check that, but between Grifol getting ejected and, protecting his guys on the warnings that were issued on Friday and then benching Luis Robert Jr., I was a big fan of those moves. It's unfortunate that we're in the situation that we're in, at least in my opinion, and I'm sure you probably share this as well, where there isn't that level of accountability amongst these star players that were brought in by Rick Hahn to do this. One of the reasons that Jose Abreu was such a legend in Chicago was because you didn't have this type of problem with Jose Abreu. He was accountable. He got in the lineup every day. I'm sure his hamstrings were barking at him at some point. I'm sure some of those pitches that came up and in on Jose Abreu stung a little bit. We haven't seen that kind of toughness and accountability from some of these other younger guys, Chuck. And I think that that's sort of been an issue that's reeked throughout this organization for quite a while now. So maybe it's a wake-up call for him. I absolutely hope it is. He's played outstanding defense so far this year. Was hot at the plate to start the season. Something needs to turn around with him. I hope this isn't the type of thing that turns into 2 more days off and then, an IL stint down the road, because we've already seen that with a couple of these guys. They can't afford to lose Luis Robert while Yohan Moncada is still down. Although I was impressed with Adam Hazley today. He's got some MVP chance going for him. And, I think that, I said it earlier, have a day, Adam Hazley. He filled in fantastic for Luis Robert Jr. today. And Chuck, that's a sign of a ball player that wants to do the most with his time and opportunity that he has. That was a great thing to see today. But back on the topic of Luis Robert for just one more second, we'll close this up. Do you see it turning around for him? Because the lack of accountability in the interview didn't sit well with me. I thought he sort of just laughed it off and sort of hid behind, I played hard yesterday, so I don't have to play hard today. And that's just a bad mentality, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to have a behind closed door type meeting with Robert at some point about all this stuff. And, I think he's going to see it as a wake up call. I do want to see his overall approach at the plate get better. And until I see that, I don't know if he will be better at the plate, because me as a pitcher, if I saw his scouting report, it would just say, don't throw him a strike because he'll make it himself out. Simple as that. You'll have him 0-1. And if you throw him a strike in an 0-1 count, you are, or any count after an 0-1 count, you are the dumbest pitcher in Major League Baseball, because he will chase anything low and out, anything out of the strike zone, and get himself out. I would just love to see his approach at the plate get better. I know we saw him take a walk. I don't even know if it was like, these games are all blending together like 3 or 4 days ago, but I would like him to make an effort to see more pitches, take more walks, even if it leads to, those early Moncada days where he was, taking strike 3 a lot because he was seeing the zone so well. I think it will pay off in the long run, especially if he's going to be at the top of the order. We just can't have these 1 or 2 pitch at bats. Just can't happen, especially with Anderson back now, because Anderson's the type of guy who's going to see maybe 3 or 4 pitches in at bat, but he's going to get hits because he's not chasing those balls that are way out of the strike zone. I think the big thing, the difference between Robert and Anderson to me is that Anderson's not really chasing those sliders way out of the strike zone. Robert's chasing those pitches, which is the big issue for him. Anderson's always going to try to get his pitch. He may not walk, but he's always going to get his pitch and get a hit. If you're going to be that type of guy, you got to have that type of approach that Anderson has. So hopefully we see a little bit of a structured at bat from Luis Robert in the future.